Hi, I'm CF. I'm building an open source software called Portcall to help automate revenue, starting with billing. In this video, I'll show you how to implement a complex pricing strategy using Portcall in less than 5 minutes. We'll use Clay as an example. I'm on Clay's pricing page right now, and I'm making a couple of observations. They got a number of different plans, pretty standard. They got different numbers of credits or tokens depending on the plan. You can toggle the interval for when you're billed. We also got unlimited users, different limits on a search feature, plus different sets of on-off features that increase with each plan level. Let's emulate Clay's pricing in the Portcall dashboard. First, I'll create a new app. Then we'll go ahead and create a test user. Once that's done, we go ahead and create our first plan. I'll start with the most expensive plan, the Pro plan, and I begin by adding all its on-off features. Once that's done, I will go ahead and add a metered feature for people company searches. This feature is more like a limit every time you perform a search, so I'll make sure that the reset interval is per use. Then I'll add the user feature and make sure that it's unlimited. Finally, I add the credit feature. I make sure that the number of credits correspond to the limit set here. I double check that everything looks right. I then click Save and Publish, and that's it. Next, I will go ahead and duplicate the same plan and use that plan to create all the remaining ones. Once all plans have been created and published, I copy the IDs of each plan and paste it into the end file of my example app. Lastly, I generate an API key token. I've created a Next.js example app that contains a mock pricing page plus some information that will display for subscribed users. I'm adding a network query calling the Portcall API's entitlement endpoint and make sure to pass in the API key in the header. Next, I pass in the query function and create a custom component for displaying on-off features. For metered features, in order to increment usage data for that specific feature, I first create an action that calls the meter events endpoint. Next, I create a custom form component. I add a handler that calls the action I just created with usage data from a form input. I then create another component. It takes data from the entitlement query and displays feature usage and the usage limit. I also include the form I just created. You can find the entire example app in Portcall's GitHub repo. First, I will subscribe to the free plan. Once I've completed a checkout step, I get redirected back to the example app. You'll see after a second or two that now I am entitled to a bunch of new features. You'll see that the number of credits, searches, and users correspond exactly to the limits that I set in the dashboard. You'll also see that the on-off features are only the ones that exist for the free plan. I'll now upgrade to one of the more expensive plans. You'll notice that once it completes, I now have access to more features and the metered feature limits have increased. Great. Now, if we go back to the dashboard, you will see that there is a user with a subscription active. Also, there are invoices that have been issued for each plan that was subscribed to. The user should also have received an email about the invoice issued. I can also view the invoice here. And that's it. We have now implemented Clay's multi-layered billing system with different prices and access to metered and unmetered features, all in less than 5 minutes using Portcall. Are you interested in other integration tutorials? Let me know.